Hello,
Hey everybody,
everyone.
welcome to the Resistance Rundown episode 16.
Yep,
Is that
16.
right? We're trying a whole new setup today, so if something goes wrong, that's why.
Yeah. Technical difficulties. Let's
That's
just
right.
call it that.
So the very first thing, as always, is movie headlines.
That's right. Who knew? We're going to be starting out with The Last Jedi as usual. So the first big story is that as of yesterday morning, The Last Jedi was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. We have an Academy nomination for visual effects, for sound mixing, for sound editing, and then the original score, of course, by John Williams. And can we just talk about the fact that is John Williams' 51st
51st nomination. Yeah.
The man is a legend.
51st.
Yes. The man is a legend for
Incredible.
sure. So, yeah, not a lot to talk about there. It's about what we thought Last Jedi would end up with.
Yeah. Usually
You know.
technical achievements is
About what we can
about
hope
what
for.
you can hope for. Yeah.
So, which is fine. Our second story is that The Last Jedi has officially passed 600 million domestically at the box office. Enjoy our poor work with money because
Yes.
that is essentially what's happening. And it's currently placed ninth on the highest grossing films of all time worldwide, with a overall total of $1.296 billion. And then it's placed 6th all-time highest grossing domestically. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
just a little bit of
not
money.
too shabby.
Continues to make a
Doing
little
okay.
bit more. No big surprise there.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who aren't sure about Luke's new force powers, Rian Johnson took to Twitter recently and shared his inspiration for his use of the Force in the movie. Interestingly enough, he shared a passage from a book called The Jedi Path, which is now categorized in the Legends era. Just a reminder, whenever Disney bought Lucasfilm, everything that came before was put as Legends, and then everything new is the new Star Wars canon. So this is stuff that's been put in the Legends era. And in the book, it speaks of an advanced Force technique called a doppelganger, where someone can create a short-term duplicate of themselves.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool little
Yeah,
tidbit.
it is. I thought it was really neat. And Brad commented, thanks, Brad. I have a little bit of money for Star Wars, he said, until Solo blows it out of the water. Then they'll just be making even more money.
That's right.
You know how that is.
It's true.
Star Wars, they are kind of known for that at this point. So speaking of The Last Jedi, it'll be coming out in just a couple of months on video. I think we all cannot wait for that.
Yep.
So the Star Wars show today debuted a deleted scene from The Last Jedi that is supposedly tied to Rey's third lesson with Luke. I think Jonathan has that here.
Yep. This was another scene with the caretakers, which actually explains a little bit why some of this footage that we saw in the trailer is not in the movie.
Yeah.
So it's always nice seeing new footage, and there's supposed to be quite a bit of deleted content on the DVD and the digital copy. So
the end of March should be really great for that. And that third lesson, those moments are going to be covered more fully in Jason Fry's novelization of The Last Jedi, which we're going to talk about later on in the show.
That's right.
So our last big news point for The Last Jedi kind of has to do with Last Jedi and Episode 9 in a way.
Yeah.
In a recent interview with Empire Podcast, Rian Johnson was asked why the Knights of Ren were not included in The Last Jedi. And Johnson had a pretty simple reason. That was just that it was already packed full and they really didn't have room for the Knights of Ren to make their appearance.
Yeah.
And with the timeline, you kind of get away with it. Picking up immediately after Force Awakens really helps with that.
That's true.
And then the other thing he talked about was that he did think of using them instead of the Praetorian Guard, but he didn't want all of the Knights of Ren to die because he felt like there was a lot to be done there. So they used Praetorian Guards instead.
Yeah.
So the big question is, was it a wise decision overall? And do you think we're going to see Knights of Ren in Episode 9?
I think it's a good possibility. I'm just happy with Victorian Guards. That scene in particular is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. So
yeah, look forward to it being my cover photo later on.
Yeah, it's already mine.
Oh, we'll match.
That's right.
What else is new?
So yeah, I think it's the right choice. JJ has said several times that he would be interested in even like a
standalone movie, yeah.
not Kylo Ren, a Knights of Ren.
Knights of Ren movie.
So I think you're going to see Knights of Ren, and I won't be surprised if they have more prominence in 9, just with now Kylo's new appointed position.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of become his guard.
Yeah, that's
which would be pretty neat, not gonna lie. And so yeah, so over under 60% that we're gonna see them in episode 9.
Oh, I think over.
Yeah. The other thing to me is I feel like that's a story beat that needs to be wrapped up. Like, you introduce them.
Yeah.
You've had that flashback where we see Kylo with all these people behind him. So it's really something that needs to be tied up in the storyline. We can't just leave it hanging.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, not too much on the world of Solo. John, this is really breaking up around here.
Yes, I know.
Okay, cool. So new Solo images. Not too much to see here. We're waiting for a little bit more. But we get this one image. Congratulations, everyone.
Yeah.
This is what we get.
That's right.
Still waiting on that trailer. Starting to think that it really is going to be Super Bowl weekend before we get it.
Definitely seeming like that is the case.
Yes, it's very unfortunate. Well, on episode 9, not too much to discuss here. The one big story is that Omega Underground is reporting that veteran creature designer Neil Scanlon will be back for episode 9 to oversee the creature shop. So I don't think that's something that we're terribly, surprised over. He did an excellent job with all of the creatures for Last Jedi. Can't wait to see what he does in episode 9.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like we always get a few new ones, so that's exciting.
Always.
All right, and so moving into some miscellaneous movie news. In a new poll from Empire Magazine about the best movie villains, Kylo Ren ranked in 7th place. He managed to rank ahead of several iconic baddies like the Xenomorph and Voldemort, but managed to still fall behind baddies like Hannibal Lecter, Darth Vader, and Heath Ledger's Joker. So, Jonathan, what do you think? Number 7 on the list. Does that sound about right?
I mean, I think that's pretty solid ranking, considering it's a fairly new character in the grand scheme of things. He was really elevated in this movie for me.
Oh, yeah.
Majorly. So I'm excited to see where they take him in 9.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's be for real.
Pretty solid.
If you're basing it on The Force Awakens alone, no, he is not even anywhere close on this list. And then The Last Jedi happens, and he moves up quite a bit.
Yeah. 7, I think 7's not a bad place to be at all, really.
No, not at all. And can't wait to see, of course, where he's going to be by the beginning of episode 9, just because of the time jump, and then definitely after that as well.
Yeah.
All right, our second big story is that Reed Morano, the director behind the award-winning The Handmaid's Tale, recently had a sit-down with Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy. Apparently, her work on the Hulu show drew the attention of Kennedy, and THR is reporting that the two had a long conversation. Moreno has since stated that she's not directing a Star Wars film, but with her film, I Think We're Alone Now premiering this week at Sundance, maybe that conversation will shift. So, Jonathan, what do you think about a Star Wars film being directed by Reed Morano, and is this a possibility in the future?
I think it's a possibility. I mean, her work on Handmaid's Tale, I think you've seen more of that than I have. But
I watched the whole first season, yeah.
But what I've seen of the work on this,
she did the first 3 episodes, so.
What I've seen of her work on it, I think she's very talented. I think it'd be great to get some more, female, or when I say more, any
female Star Wars directors, yeah.
And I know that's something on Kathy Kennedy's radar for sure. So
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see who the first female director is that she chooses to go with. Obviously, names like Patty Jenkins and Ava DuVernay and even like Catherine Bigelow have been thrown out in the past. Mm-hmm. I think it's really neat that she's sitting down with someone who has not done quite as many things.
Yeah.
Because I looked up Morano not long after the story broke, and she's like, I feel like she's like 40 or something. Like she's pretty young in the world of directing. But she did an excellent job on Handmaid's Tale, and that's how she found out about her. She was watching the show with her daughter, and she asked who is this person that's directing these episodes? So yeah, I think it would be fun if she did a Star Wars story. Eventually,
Yeah.
I think we have plenty of female characters that she could easily do a standalone film for in the Star Wars universe. Also, Peter Dinklage is in the movie that she's directing, and he jokingly said something about wanting to be in Star Wars, and she said if she did a movie, then he could be in it. So I know it's a joke, but I was like, no, really, that should happen.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
That should really happen. Game of Thrones crossover once again.
That's right.
Woohoo. All right, and our last story under movie news focuses on an article from Esquire about all the plot holes present in the Star Wars films, and for fun, Pablo Hidalgo with the Lucasfilm Story Group addressed their concerns. We're definitely not going to go through all of these, but if you want a good laugh, look up Pablo Hidalgo on Twitter. He literally addresses every single question, some of which he addresses and says, hey, no, that's fair. Like, I have no answer for this.
Right.
So it's fun. Be sure to check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
So moving on to the small screen. Guys, Rebels is finally coming back.
Yes, we finally had the premiere of the season 4 trailer. What day was that?
What day was that? Maybe on Monday? Is that right?
Maybe something like that.
I'm really trying to think. Sorry, we had a comment real quick. Brad commented, he said, watched the first trilogy this past weekend. End of part 4, the Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Darth Vader ghost scene. They replaced, part 6, sorry. They replaced Darth with a teenage version of Anakin. Was not happy. Why fix something that's not broken? Your thoughts on them changing past chapters to time with the new generation of Star Wars fans? Yeah, actually, that's kind of funny. That's one of the plot holes that the people on Esquire brought up. Why is Anakin young?
Mm-hmm.
And, we know why he's young, and that's just to tie into the prequels. But yeah, I wish they hadn't.
It's
that.
Unfortunately, Jedi has some of my least favorite tweakings.
Yes.
I don't like the yelling of the no thing at the end between he and the Emperor. I hate that.
Yeah. What they do in Jabba's palace, not okay.
It never made sense to me as to why I would go back to Anakin, because to me he wasn't redeemed until that moment, so there'd be no reason for him to go back as a younger Force ghost.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I don't particularly like that change either, Brad. So.
Yeah, not our favorite change. I understand why, but I don't like it.
Yeah, basically.
So there's that. So yeah, but thanks for the question. It's a very valid question. Changing stuff for the newer generation of those who grew up on the prequels.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the small screen we had this trailer for Rebels. Jonathan's got it streaming now, so you guys can watch. And we did get confirmation that it's coming back a little earlier than what the rumors said. It's coming back on Monday, February 19th. They're going to have back-to-back episodes starting at 9 o'clock on that day. 9 o'clock on the 26th with back-to-back episodes. March 5th, it's going to be an hour-and-a-half series finale that's going to begin at 8:30 Eastern Time. So a lot to look forward to in this final season. We're telling you, if you're not watching Rebels, you need to be watching Rebels because it is incredible. So with that, we had the trailer drop. So Jonathan, what is sticking out to you out of this footage?
Well, obviously, there's really only one thing that's standing out to
Let's
me.
be for real.
Is that we have Emperor Palpatine, Sheev himself, coming into the Rebels mix once again. He was in it briefly in season 1, very briefly, and it was not voiced by Ian McDiarmid, which is now confirmed that Ian McDiarmid is doing the voice for Palpatine in this. So that's awesome. He calls out Ezra by name in the trailer. So if that's how Ezra ends, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Or it's just one of those things. It's cool to bring these classic characters into the bigger story, and and the Emperor just is not in it a lot. Not in the films, but you have a lot of backstory. You have all this stuff, and so I think
Sheev.
to have Emperor Palpatine in the mix, especially in dealing with Ezra, I think Kanan is going to be biting the dust in the next one of the first 2 episodes.
Yeah,
that is my assumption.
Too.
But maybe they face them together. I have no idea. But At any rate, there is a lot of interesting stuff in the trailer. I don't know if this is a holocron of him that he's looking at or what. But I even love Ezra's line there about one last lesson.
Yeah.
So it's a really great clip.
Yeah, absolutely. This trailer is fantastic. And, the beginning of it really goes through all their journey up until now. And in the first couple of seasons, we're so focused on Ezra, and then I feel like it kind of transitioned more into the team as a whole and the rebellion as a whole. And so I feel like we're kind of coming back to that.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a nice wrap on his story, whether it's because Palpatine takes him out or because, he ends up escaping in some way, or he ends up
any myriad
dying in some other way.
ways.
Yeah. So, also another thing to me, I think his connection with the animal stuff is going to come a lot more into play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see that happen.
Yeah.
And then also excited to see Rook back. All of his fight sequences were so cool last season, what little bit we had. So excited to see that happen again.
Most definitely.
So before we move on, Brad had a question. He said, with them changing that scene, will that increase the value of the old original releases? Oh, the value of it? Yeah, if you had an original copy. Yeah.
Well, they're almost they're very difficult to find.
Yeah, because everything that's
currently,
released now is all the changes that Lucas made on them. So
you can't buy the non-special editions at all from Lucasfilm or Disney. There's been a huge call for that to be re-released, but I imagine George probably has that protected very legally.
I think that was part of the decision. Like, I believe that was part of his arrangement with Disney whenever they bought them, that they weren't going to be able to touch the original stuff.
There was actually 2 rounds of changes with the special editions. I have a second round copy of some DVDs,
and then you also have the ones that I got on the Blu-ray.
Blu-ray pack, the remastered. I will watch New Hope and Empire completely remastered. I think Empire is the best. There's just very little done to it, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an extra scene with Vader that's weird toward the end after Cloud City for some reason. But apart from that, most of it is minimal. Return of the Jedi, you have Jabba's Palace, which is a great segment, but then they mess it up with the new singing alien thing.
Yeah.
And then the no at the end is taken out. And it's not in there in my first round of special editions DVDs. So that is the ones I usually watch whenever I watch the original trilogy.
Brad said that I have 3 in plastic.
Nice.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, those will be worth a lot. I'm sure, if they aren't already.
If they're not already, I'm pretty sure they will be. Absolutely. Well, we're going to move right along into the bookshelf. And quite a little bit to talk about here. The first is that the New York Times is releasing a unique coffee table book featuring the publication's 4+ decades of Star Wars coverage, which it was really neat. It's called In a Galaxy Far, Far Away. It's going to highlight the newspaper's coverage from like the very first story they had about Lucas developing some space opera to all the coverage through The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that's really neat. It's actually already available for I think it's for pre-order. Maybe it's already available for order.
Yeah.
I get confused sometimes about what is pre-order and what is not. And Brad just commented, your dad taught me well. Yes, Dad was very serious about preserving some of those things. So good call.
Learn from the master.
That's right. That's right. So on the novelization front, we mentioned earlier about that scene that we showed being included in the novelization for The Last Jedi. That's available for pre-release on March 6th. That was announced today on the Star Wars show. Cannot wait for that in light of some of that information.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I finished Cobalt Squadron. This is the book that came out the same day as The Last Jedi. And it focuses on Rose Tico and obviously the Cobalt Squadron is what they're called.
Yeah.
But it focuses on her and her sister and their team. And yeah, to be honest, it's one of those books that I kind of wish I had before watching The Last Jedi. I see why they didn't, because it literally ends right whenever The Last Jedi picks up.
Right.
I don't think they wanted to ruin Haldo's involvement in that book, actually. Is I think the main reason they didn't want to release it beforehand, if I had to guess. And it kind of chronicles their a relief mission that they do for the Resistance. And I feel like that's really neat. We don't get a lot into what the Resistance actually does outside of being an all-out warfare with the First Order.
Mm-hmm.
But that really doesn't start until The Last Jedi. Until then, they're kind of sneaking around and they're trying to help these planets who have been under attack and who have been oppressed. And so that was really neat. You do go into Paige and Rose's background and the fact that they come from a very cold, hard planet that was really destroyed by the First Order. That's what made them join the Resistance. Their parents helped them get away, and their parents stayed and are presumably dead at this point because of that. It goes a little bit more into really why they despise the First Order themselves. Not a whole lot, but enough for you to get a tidbit into it, and I liked that. And it also fills in some gaps. You know, I think whenever you introduce new characters in a second film in a trilogy, people want to go, well, where were they in the first one? Well, we find out where they were because of this. It takes place during The Force Awakens. And the end of the book is them finding out about the Hosnian system and about Starkiller base being destroyed. Well, finding out about it and begin with and finding out that it's destroyed.
Right.
It lends actually some perspective on Rose's attitude toward animals and the fathiers, and finding out that was actually Paige's favorite animal and they'd never seen them before. So I feel like it kind of gave a little bit more heart to the sequences on Canto Bight and Last Jedi. Like, I'm really looking forward to watching the movie now after reading some of this and getting to know their characters a little bit more. And it inserts Haldo into this current storyline. And truthfully, it also kind of talks about why they have as few bombers as they do by the start of Last Jedi. So it fills in some important holes. It's not a very long book. It's pretty short.
Yeah.
It's a quick, easy read. I think it does a lot for Rose's character, and it makes Paige's death have a little bit more gravity to it. And you know, it's not like Claudia Gray. Everybody knows I love Claudia Gray, and her books are the best. So I mean, it's not that, but it's a good little read, and it fills in some holes. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Cool.
So I guess Legends of Luke Skywalker or Inferno Squad is next. I don't know. We'll see.
One of the two.
I have both. I need to read both. So
one thing I did want to mention, we talked about the novelization. They mentioned the Star Wars show today, actually, that Han's funeral is covered in the novelization.
Also going to be in the novelization of Last Jedi.
As well as some more bits with Canto, and I forget what the other thing was, but Han's funeral was actually one thing that was kind of rumored to be in the movie, which it may be a deleted scene, we have no idea, but it definitely sounded like that was something they had planned for the novelization. So one little cool detail, something that come out.
Brad commented and said Jar Jar Binks is worse than breaking your toe on the edge of the couch. Yeah, let's be for real.
I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, whenever we rewatch the prequels, whenever we force ourselves to rewatch the prequels, that's always the thing that I cringe at, probably the most. And that's saying a lot because Anakin and Padme are not easy to watch.
No.
Which, before we go into the merchandise and kind of start wrapping up things, if you have any more questions, just start commenting below. Let us know and we will get to them before we wrap up.
Normally we would have Galaxy's Edge right here, but there's not really anything other than just construction updates.
Hey,
but there
they're still
haven't been
working.
any photos or anything. But everything is still on schedule for everything I can see. I think Hollywood Studios is actually catching up a little bit. I think they're trying to
close that gap.
Close the gap a little bit of when everything's going to be opening.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's a cool little detail.
Yeah, very much so. So under merchandise, this is just a small thing, but pretty cool. New Zealand Mint has just expanded its silver coin note range to include Star Wars. So the very first coin note in this brand new Star Wars silver coin note collection. It comes complete with a 6-note collector's album. It features, of course, Luke Skywalker. Also features Obi-Wan, Han, Chewbacca, Leia, Darth Vader, and R2 and 3PO on the same one, I do believe. And so the hardcover album is included with the notes. It features a page for each of the 6 notes in the collection. So, pretty cool little thing. You know, I always like to see this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I get super nerdy about it, and I feel like, will we order it? No. But it looks cool, so.
That's right.
Also, random tidbit, this is not in the notes, but guys, there are now pork shoes. Pork shoes. I
Molly
kid you
was
not.
just a little bit excited about the
I
pork
was.
shoes.
I sent pictures to people last night and went, oh my gosh, look, I need these.
Yeah.
And they're British, but you know what? I'll figure it out. So, they're cool. I'm sorry we don't have a picture, but just look them up. Pork shoes, and you'll see them. They have high tops and low tops.
So, I cannot get my notes to come up. But in Star Wars History 101, which we don't always have on the show, but since we've got this new format, we're going to layer it back in.
That's right.
Today is actually the actor who plays Lobot, which I think his name is John Litton, but I don't have my notes, so I don't particularly remember. But anyway, it's his birthday, so fun little factoid.
Yeah, that is fun. Brad, I see your thing. We love the coins too. He said link to buy. I think we can put it in the.
We'll comment afterwards.
Yeah, we'll comment and we'll put it in there. Our internet is being real iffy at the moment, so we'll comment with it after the show.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I think
pretty much wraps us up.
Pretty much wraps us up. Thanks to y'all for joining us and for hanging in on this inaugural episode. Our internet, of course, decides to be special while we're trying to do the show. So
for the very first time with new technology. That's the way it goes.
Shout out to MediaCom.
Yeah.
There you go.
As always. So
yeah, pretty much. If you ever have a question for the show, you can always email us at theresistancerundown@gmail.com. Just put TRR in your subject line so I know that's what you're wanting us to look at for. And then we will answer them here on the show. If you're interested in the Shot List, which is our regular movie podcast, we do every Monday and Thursday. You can check us out on ATL_movies on Twitter and Instagram there, as well as movie reviews, everything under there. And then also we're on Apple News. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can just get on there, search above the line, and it will appear right in your feed. So I think that's all the plugs out of the way.
That's right. Brad, we appreciate you. You said love you guys. We love you too.
Love you too. So anyway, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BeachJD. I almost forgot that. I don't have my notes in front of me.
Oh, man. He's so lost. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MCBeach.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Until next time.
Bye, guys.
May the Force be with you.
That's right. May the Force be with you.
Always.